So I went to them and told them that I would do whatever I could to help the team sign the guys that are going to help us win football games.
Oh, it feels like the first day of school. Training camp is here. So much NFL excitement. It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM, Channel 80, ESPN2, ESPN News. We're all over the place, but it's none of the three of them. Bart Scott, Jason Fitz hanging out with you this morning. All of our guests will join us on the Goodyear Hotline. Bart, we'll get into all this. Like, it's the first day for me. Like, I'll put my fan hat on, right? You got the player hat. I'm going to put the fan hat on for a second. When you're a fan, man, like you spend all year justifying. Like the end of the last season, that's when you really knew what your team looked like. Now it's like a relationship. You're going through the healing process. So like all of a sudden you forget some of the things you didn't like about her. You think like maybe it's not that she's not that crazy. You go through free agency. It's like, no, I really missed the way she made me laugh. You get to the draft and you're like, oh, we had all these great memories together. By the time you get to training camp, you are right back into the relationship with the crazy ex. That's where I am as a Raiders fan. So like I feel this every single year. Like going into training camp, this is a delightful day. As a former player, are you sharing my joy for training camp being underway?
Well, you know what? The first day of school is always interesting, right? Because I talked about it yesterday. You know, the first thing that happens before they officially report for practice is the conditioning test. That's usually like the funniest comedy show because you see the guys that took it seriously when you have those 6 weeks between the last OTA and or the long camp and then the report day, and you see the guys that decide to go on vacation and fatten up a little bit, and you see guys, you start talking to them, they start going on crash diets to try and lose weight like the week before, and you know it's going to be bad. and it's like the conditioning test is always at like high noon on the turf, and you've been working out when it was warm, when it was convenient, and you get out there, you see guys sweat like Patrick Ewing in the fourth quarter, and it's like, oh, this ain't going to be good, man. He ain't going to make it. Like I said, the funniest thing I ever seen, I had a teammate get carried out in a wheelbarrow.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, they discarded him like trash, too. I mean, get him out of here.
I'm just wondering who's carrying that wheelbarrow because your teammates are – you know, the funny thing in the music business, most of the time you're off right around Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
So everybody's in good shape. You've been playing shows all year, and then we would take this break, and you'd come back like 2-3 weeks into January, and you'd look around and you'd be like, oh, man, somebody had all of the Christmas cookies. I can't imagine being an NFL player and looking around at your team. Like, did you have that moment looking in where you looked over at somebody and thought, it's going to have a rough couple? Did you have it?
No, come on.
Oh, okay,
You're kidding me. Peanut was undrafted free agent. I had one foot out the door, the other on the banana peel. Because I had to do everything right. You know, but it was always funny because you could see the guys that always battle with weight. We had what you call the fat man walk, and everybody like the fat guys always have to report and they have to weigh in. So you see these guys come in a couple days early. They're in the sweat box. They got like the baby oil trying to smother their body and trying to cut weight like they're a fighter. And you're like, that ain't gonna be good, pimp.
Does that work, baby? Like, look,
baby.
I'm 2 weeks into the work on Beachbody, like, so I'm doing like all of these like crazy lifting things. If I smother myself in baby oil, am I going to lose more weight?
Let me explain, right?
Okay,
it's like a eruption, right? Mm-hmm. What happens is like you putting your hand over something and the pressure builds up. So what happens is if you put the baby oil on or some type of heavy lube, what happens is it clogs your pores, so your body can't cool off, and then eventually it just psss, and you just start sweating out.
I'm going to go buy an uncomfortable amount of baby oil. That's my goal for the rest of the day in New York. It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin presented by Progressive Insurance.
Don't get on some type of weirdo list.
I mean, if I'm not already, good Lord. All of our guests will join us on the Goodyear Hotline, and we start with some Straight Talk brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. As excited as we are, obviously, for training camp, the one thing I know is that Jerry Jones is more excited. He spoke about his love of the team and the love of this moment at his press conference.
I'd do anything known to man to get in a Super Bowl. That's a fact. But the thing that means the most to me and I care about, and I could probably be anywhere in the world I want to be right now. I want to be here with our team.
Come on, Captain Obvious. You're a billionaire. Of course you can be anywhere you want to be. Like, stop it. And you want to do anything to win? Give me your yacht.
No, but well, I mean, I would take the yacht.
Well, I didn't say everything.
Do you?
He thinks my name's Raymond, by the way.
Do most owners share that? Like, you think? Because when I hear that, I hear a billionaire that owns a team that wants to win a Super Bowl. That seems pretty Captain Obvious to me. Like every single owner wants to win a Super Bowl, but like, does the emotion tug at Bart Scott's heartstrings?
No, I mean, listen, look, Jerry's seeing his mortality, right? And he understands he's only got a couple more bites at the apple. Like, he wanted Kyle Pitts so bad, and they forced him to be disciplined, and they've done that, right? Because he would have drafted Johnny Manziel. So this team is ready for a comeback. I think last year was a bit early with McCarthy and, Mike Nolan. We know that experiment didn't work out. But they have a legitimate chance. I wouldn't say they have a great chance of being a Super Bowl contender this year, but they can make strides to hopefully in the next couple of years. Usually when a new coach comes in, a new regime comes in, they tell them, okay, 5 years, we want a title, right? That was the deadline that Steve Bisciotti put on Harbaugh when he got in there. That was the plan, and he was a year ahead. But the problem is the Cowboys usually always cowboy, because you talk about an organization that gets more credit and more respect that hasn't did or accomplished anything in the last decade.
I mean, that's some straight talk wireless, no contract, no compromise. Would you argue, though? Because I feel like, and by the way, why does Jerry Jones think your name is Raymond?
It was a night he had been partying. He was lit. I was like, hey, how you doing, Jerry? My name's Bart Scott. I play for the Ravens. He was like, oh, man, thanks for your service. I'm like, man, I'm not in the military. What are you talking about? They said, hey, great to see you, Raymond. I'm like, no, I play for the You know what? Never mind.
I feel like, though, as we look at teams coming in, and we're going to do this a lot over the course of the morning, looking at some of the teams that are getting to camp. The Cowboys, I think, frankly, I'm high on. I think they're in a better position. Like, yes, I know last year wasn't the year that everybody expected, but they lost their starting quarterback. And to your point, Mike McCarthy was brought in to supposedly, we're all supposed to believe Jason Garrett was the problem. So
right.
No Jason Garrett. Now you have Mike McCarthy, but he loses his quarterback. I don't think we can really take much out of last year, first year with the head coach without their starting quarterback. This year is really the proof positive for me, but it's still an incredibly talented roster, and I think that Dak comes back healthy. They should put themselves into the playoffs conversation.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, this team it's never been a talent acquisition or player acquisition problem there. It's been sometimes Dallas players feel emboldened to think that they're better than what they are because they have the star. Doesn't make you a good football player. You have to come together. You got to have some grit. You got to have some toughness. And, like they say, attitude reflects leadership. Well, the attitude that they brought in there is Dan Quinn. He has a high standard of excellence on the defensive side, which is where they need to help, because it's not from a talent standpoint. Like I said before, they have probably just as much talent, if not more, on that defensive side of the ball. When I look at that personnel and with all the coordinators that I have been with, well, it's funny, oddly enough, because Mike Nolan was my first coordinator, and he couldn't make chicken salad out of nothing, right? But Rex would take a defense personnel like that. They have two legitimate pass rushers in Gregory and Lawrence. They have three. Like, they could have the best and the deepest linebacker core with the addition of Parsons, right? And Trayvon Diggs is a beast. And I think Calvin Joseph is going to surprise a lot of people. Reminds me a bit of a little Delta O'Neal, little, no risk it, no biscuit on the defensive side of the ball. He may jump some stuff, give up some big plays. But then Keanu Neal is going to be that thumper that they need to come down and set a tone. Remember, Keanu Neal was Jamal Adams